Welcome to the Expectant Aerialist podcast. Today, my guest is Shannon Beach, dancer and aerialist based here in LA. And Shannon and I's story intersected 10 years ago. I booked the biggest gig of my career at that point, doing aerial and dance for the Taylor Swift Speak Now tour. We were flown to Nashville to rehearse. We were in the first couple weeks of rehearsal being worked pretty hard, creating this big arena tour show, doing aerial and dance every single day. And about 4 weeks into it, I slipped and fell out of a bungee loop, rehearsing one of the numbers, and came down hard on my feet on a hard stage. We were about 11 feet off the ground. My feet were 11 feet off the ground. And, we were beyond the point where we were rehearsing with mats. So I came down hard on what happened to be my left ankle. And I tried to sit up and I tried to get up. I was like, I'm fine. People around me saying, no, stay where you are. Don't move. And so I listened. People ran to my side, held my hand, and then the pain started to register, this searing pain from the lower left extremity. The ambulance came, they came and got me, they put me on morphine. It was all a blur. And then it started to dawn on me as I laid there that this gig has just slipped through my fingers, and the emotional devastation that was in my heart at that moment started to set in, that my near future was not going to be traveling and touring the world with my best friend Meredith Ostrowski, who was booked on it with me and there in the room when this happened, with the biggest star ever. That was now over. I would be, back in LA learning how to walk at the same time. Shannon Beach is the woman who had to do some life gymnastics to kind of step in and take that spot. She was the assistant choreographer, so she was already involved in the project, but in a rush and panic, they asked her. She was the best option. She already knew the choreography to step in last minute and take a role that had already been rehearsing for 4 weeks, which is really hard to do if you're the performer. So today I talked to Shannon a little bit about that. It was 10 years ago, so a long time ago for us. She's an amazing woman. She continues to work in Hollywood and continues to impress me all the time. She is a leader in our community, and I'm really glad to call her a friend. So we're going to talk about a little bit of how our story came together, but mostly how she juggles being a working mom. She's got 2 kids, and she does it all. So I'm going to hopefully get some pointers from her too on how to juggle everything once this pandemic kind of opens up and we go back to work. Without further ado, here's my interview with Shannon. She's always with me. Do you have your kids right there with you, or?
I do, but because they're older, I, informed them that I have important things to do and they need to be quiet. And, I gave them instructions. So that's the benefit of when your children get older, what happens. Yeah.
And then what age are they right now?
Lucy is 6 and Ella is 3.
Goodness. Do you feel like you're out of that, like the stage where, is it starting to get easier?
The baby fog, it's a real thing. I certainly had heard about this.
Yeah.
And it wasn't until we had emerged from the baby fog that I was able to look back and be like, oh, that's the baby fog that everybody talked about. And it's really like everything is just kind of numb and blurry for a couple of years. And then all of a sudden you're not changing diapers or breastfeeding every, hour, 2 hours, whatever it may be. And then all of a sudden it's like you really can see life a little bit more clearly. And they're able to communicate, which is a very important detail rather than
Right,
just
right.
screaming for no unknown reason. And you're trying every magical opportunity to fix whatever is unknown. And they are like, no, I'm just hungry or I'm just tired, whatever.
Right,
So,
right. Oh, I'm looking forward to this. I really am. Because I don't know I'm in a fog. It's just
yeah.
blurry right now. Is that what you're
You
saying to me?
don't That's exactly it. You don't realize it. And, everything is consuming at this point. And there's just, all the baby gear and all the baby things and the baby needs. And it's all about the baby. And then all of a sudden it gets to a point where you're like, oh my gosh, I could actually take a bath and know that my child is going to be okay for 20 minutes. And
So today on the podcast, we are so lucky to have Shannon Beach. Say hi, Shannon.
hi, everyone.
So, for those of you guys who don't know Shannon, she's a dancer. She's a slashy like me, dancer slash aerialist. And when I first moved here to LA around 2000, she was already off to the races and, working dancer, working aerialist. Am I right? Do I have my memory? Does my memory serve me?
I moved to Los Angeles in 2002, but I started working professionally in 1996. And so, yes, I had already been at it for a good chunk of time at that point.
Where were you before that? I guess I don't know this.
Yeah, so I was born and raised in Phoenix. And then as soon as I graduated high school, like 4 days later, I auditioned for a cruise ship and I booked the job. So I worked on a cruise ship for a year. Right after that, I moved to Vegas and I did a bunch of shows in Vegas for 2 years. I auditioned in Vegas for a new Broadway show and I got the job at the audition, which was pretty magical.
Nice.
And I had just turned 21 and I
Oh,
moved to New York City and I did Saturday Night Fever on
that's
Broadway. So I was a part
that's
of the
right. And
original
I
cast. Yep.
I know Aliane is the girl that I went to college with who is also on that cast. Aliane.
Who?
Aliane.
Oh, you went
She
with
lives, yeah, we
Leon.
went to school
Amazing.
together. Yeah.
Oh, wow. What a small world. Yeah, we were bookends because we're the same height with the same abilities and the same curly hair. So, like, for probably about 15 years of my career, Leon has been my bookend. So that's pretty cool. Amazing. Yeah, so then I did the show in New York for almost 2 years, and then I did the first national tour for a year and a half when 9/11 happened when I was on the tour. So they basically offered severance packages to anybody that was willing to leave because they had to cut the budget so drastically. And I had already been doing the show for 2.5 years. And I was like, you know what? While I'm still young, let me give Los Angeles a try because I'd done Vegas and New York and LA was still on my list of things to do. So I moved to LA. My first audition was for the Share Tour, which I booked. And that's where I learned all of my aerial skills. And it's like the rest is history.
And that's where you met. Is that where you met Drea?
Yes, Drea was the aerial coach and choreographer for the show, and she also toured with the show. So she was one of the performers in the show. So every show day, we had a rig check, as you do, to make sure all of your equipment is in proper working order. But we used those rig checks as training sessions because all the dancers were so new to doing aerial work that we really needed to build up the strength to be consistent to do the shows. And I did the tour for 2.5 years. So that was a lot of time just
Yeah.
training and learning. And when I got done with the tour and I moved to Los Angeles, it was like every job wanted to incorporate aerial work into their shows because the Share Tour was such a huge success. So I was able to really take advantage of this little pocket where it was in such high demand, but nobody did it. So I did it.
Yeah,
And because
you were on that early end of things, and that's how my memory serves me, because when I was first here in those first couple of years, the share tour was kind of happening.
yeah.
And Drea is obviously a pillar in our community, who I hope to have her here too at some point. But
Mm-hmm.
yeah, so I had known that. I didn't really know you at all for years because I was in the dance world, but I hadn't done aerial. And you really were in it when the whole dancer aerialist thing, like where they would hire a dancer who also did aerial, to do a lot of the pop tours, right? I had it on the back end of that. Like obviously we were on Taylor Swift for 2 seconds together. And then I did the Motley Crue tour after that, where we were doing dance and aerial. And I think after that, people were like over it.
Yeah, I mean, I
Yeah.
really the timing of it was pretty magical for my career. I was the beginning of this wave, and after the Cher tour, I then toured with Pink, Britney Spears, Leona Lewis, and then Taylor Swift, and it was like, the reason why I was getting all of these jobs was because I was able to do both at such a high level that, concert tours don't generally offer a budget for separate aerialists and dancers. So they really needed individuals who could do both. And I was riding the wave for sure.
Yeah. And me and our mutual friend Meredith kind of got the butt end of the wave. Yeah.
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 So, and then good prompt into the story of me and Shannon, which is kind of like two ships passing in the night. So back in 2011, I was on the Taylor Swift tour. We were going into rehearsals. We were in Nashville, and Shannon and Drea were the choreography team. So Shannon was the assistant, Drea was the choreographer. And we were in the first 4 weeks of rehearsal. I think it was a total of like 6 to 8 weeks or something, or not, I don't know, something like that. And I had my injury like 4 weeks in, and Shannon, because at that point they're halfway through, creating the tour. And so bringing in someone else, that would just be a lot. So they ended up hiring Shannon to step in. And you had to do some, what's the word? Some gymnastics with your life there. Probably, right? Because didn't you just buy a house or something and you were planning to be back in LA? Something like
Yeah,
that?
I actually had bought my house when I was doing the Cher tour in 2003,
Oh,
which
okay. So
was
you had it for a
a
while
lovely
there.
gift. I had my house, but I had just gotten engaged.
Oh,
So
that's right.
right before, yeah. So like they had offered me the Taylor tour, to do the Taylor tour, but I had turned it down because I had just gotten engaged and I was like really ready to start that next chapter. And then, but I was there to assist Drea for the rehearsal time period. And then when I got the frantic call from Drea that you had fallen and your poor body had broken into
Yep.
pieces.
Yep.
It wasn't like just can you come and assist me? It was, can you come and at least, fill in for Carrie while she's healing and then she's ready to come back, or if we need to find another whatever, just like come and start the process. And then once I got there and met everybody, it just was such a wonderful team and such a great cast. And it's kind of crazy. It all just kind of like happened so fast. It really was such a whirlwind. And then we were off and we were running. And, I think that, and I don't think that we've even gotten a chance to really talk deeply about this, but I think that your injuries were, much more substantial than they,
Yeah.
originally thought.
Yeah. And the job itself wasn't that long. Like we had been contracted for 6 months of work, which is not that long for a tour. Had it been like the Cher tour that you were on and been 2.5 years, I might have ended back up on it
Yeah.
if it was
Yeah.
long enough. But my recovery was way longer. But, you know, um, you know, things happened the way they should, and I ended up on a great tour that I just had a Facebook post from like a friend of mine on that. Like my tour story ended up somewhere else.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
but that's how, like, so Shannon ended up taking that spot for me, and then our lives went in directions after that, because before that Shannon hadn't was engaged, but her two lovely children were not here yet, and that's what we're here to talk about. So yeah, I think it's going to be really helpful for all these listeners just to get a different perspective on all these different aerial mamas and what happened and how you do it. So for you, you have a 3-year-old and a 6-year-old. You just told me. Can you talk about, well, I'm going to let you kind of choose. Tell me about your journey. So the prenatal, the birth story, wherever you want to start.
Sure. Yeah. Got married, and then Tom, my husband, and I, we were ready to start the adventure of having a baby. And, I think that as performers, aerialists, dancers, we're in good shape and we generally live healthy lifestyles. So you're like, of course, I'm going to get pregnant easily. And it actually took me about a year to get pregnant.
Oh,
And
really? Okay.
yeah. And that was because, I was still working. And so I was traveling, and I
Mm.
never quite realized how tiny that little window of ovulation is, and so like some months we'd
Mm.
miss it. And then some months we were trying and then it just didn't happen. And, as the months roll on and the pregnancy isn't happening, it really starts to take a toll, and like an emotional toll on your soul, where like, what's wrong with me? And why isn't this
Mm.
happening? And it's really hard. And like at that point, I was 35, 36. So, you then enter into a different age bracket at the gynecologist,
Yep.
which is never,
Geriatric.
you're geriatric. Yeah.
Yeah.
They said AMA, where it was advanced maternal age after
Yes.
35. And then I think the geriatric pregnancy happens in your 40s, if
Oh,
I
is that? I
recall
was just
correctly.
joking. That's a real thing.
Oh, no, that's a real yeah, yeah. From
Oh.
35 to 40, it's labeled as AMA, which is advanced maternal age, and then after 40, I believe it is referenced as a geriatric
Oh my
pregnancy.
God. I was totally
Yeah.
not even serious. Wow. I didn't know that.
Yeah, no, so that's disturbing. And, you really, it's such turmoil that you put yourself through in this process until, we received the gift that I was actually pregnant, which I found out on Christmas morning, which was pretty spectacular. And I wrapped up the pea stick, and obviously I cleaned it before. But
Oh, I
anyway,
still
I
have
gave
my
that.
I have my pea stick too. Can I stop you for a second? So
Sure,
during
yeah.
that year, did you like how deep did you go into it? Were you peeing on sticks? Were you like checking your temperature? What were you doing?
I definitely did the game, all of the above, like
Okay.
with, checking the temperature, plotting it out, doing the ovulation test. Like I definitely was putting a lot of effort into understanding what this process was. And I think that it was interesting more than anything, because I just had no idea how involved it was. But then when it like continued to roll on and I wasn't getting pregnant, that's when it was just getting frustrating. So then I kind of just took a break, because I'm like, I'm charting all of this and doing this every single morning, and what is it telling me? Like it's not happening. So then I
Okay.
just kind of stopped. So I only did that for a couple of months. And I think that it added stress going through that process every day. And I think that there is something about just relaxing into the process a little bit more and allowing it to be natural,
Mm,
rather than trying to make it happen. And I feel like once I kind of like let it go a little bit, that's when it just did actually happen.
it's amazing. It's
I
amazing.
mean, it works differently for everybody, for sure. And,
Yeah.
I know that it's so challenging for so many women. And I have a lot of friends that have been trying to get pregnant for a very long time, and they've had multiple miscarriages. And, I really, I have vicariously gone through the process with them, and I've gone through my own journey with it. I definitely had a miscarriage along the way, and that was very, very sad and very unexpected.
Mm,
And it happened very early on. So luckily, I wasn't attached to this child growing inside my body yet. So emotionally, it wasn't so devastating, but it was just sad that like going through the process. But yeah, I mean, once I found out that I was pregnant, it was like I knew such a clear, fresh chapter was about to begin for my life. And, because we were older, we were so ready for it, both my husband and
mm-hmm.
I. We had checked off everything that we had wanted to do professionally multiple times. So we were really ready to give our space over to this life that we so badly wanted to have together.
Yeah, I'm so happy that that happened. And so, first trimester, did you experience morning sickness? Did you have any complications?
Luckily, I have to say I didn't experience the morning sickness, and I'm grateful that I didn't, because I was working a lot up until I got to my last job was really at 3.5 months. I was doing a very big project,
Mm,
and like my tits were huge. Like my belly hadn't popped yet, but my God, the tits definitely knew I was pregnant. It was
Awesome.
amazing. And then actually, when we were doing the show, in the intermission of the show, it was a one-off. It was this huge industrial, and I told the whole cast at the intermission that I was
Oh,
pregnant.
so great.
So that was a pretty cool moment. And then, from at that point, I knew that like I wasn't going to be taking on any other projects. I was working here and there, but like that was like the last big, like, big professional gig. And then I was able to really, I feel, relax into the pregnancy, and like, watching my body transform was so mesmerizing to me. Like there was like an alien invasion, and I'd be walking on a street and like catch a glimpse of myself like reflecting in a window of a shop, and I was like, oh my God, like who is that and whose body is that? And as athletes, we're so in tune with our bodies at all time, and it's very specific how they look and how it feels, and I was completely consumed by
Did you
the
love being
adventure.
pregnant? Because I did not. I mean, I was very appreciative to be pregnant, but I did not. I did not. I was like the opposite.
I did.
Yeah,
I did.
You're one of
love-
those
I
people.
I did. I did. It was so cool. And like, the fact that I would like, go to buy these clothes with these ridiculous belly bands, but I was like, I need the belly band. Like, like you need like an entire new wardrobe of clothes and underwear, like all the
Yeah.
details, obviously. Like it was, and I just felt like I was buying a new bra every month, because like the tits were just a whole nother world of crazy. Like I had no idea.
So they were they were
big.
big before you even started breastfeeding, like way before the milk even came in?
Yeah, like I mean, in normal life, I've always been a C cup, and then like pretty much like at the like 2.5 month mark, it went up from like a C to a D, and then shortly after it was like a double D,
Oh, girl.
and then it started like then I was like bubbling out of this double D. I was like, I can't even find a triple D. Like it was like it was a whole nother world. Like I
So,
felt
yeah.
like my body was taken over by just. And it is, your body is taken over by this other entity that needs and wants things at all times. It's wild.
Yes.
And like I didn't have any like specific crazy cravings. Like I did enjoy the a little bowl of ice cream every night, but like I wasn't eating like pickles obnoxiously or anything like that. I just remember having to pee like every 20 minutes, especially as the pregnancy wore on. I was like, oh my God, why? Why do I have to pee every 20 minutes? It's driving me crazy.
All I wanted was French fries and cereal.
Interesting.
Cereal. And I'm not
Cereal.
a big cereal person. I wanted milk and cereal constantly. But so yeah, like I'm not sure if you're a unicorn or if you're just a unicorn to me, because I'm like, I got to find that one woman who loves being pregnant, because what the fuck? What, which is honestly like me and my partner, we haven't really talked about having a second, but just personally, I'm just like, can we skip that part and just go to the
part.
Yeah. But that's just me.
Yeah, no, and I get it. Like, everybody has a completely different experience. And I think that because I, didn't have morning sickness, I was able to enjoy it more.
Maybe.
And it was something that I really wanted. So like, I wanted to know what it was all about. And then it was cool when I got pregnant for the second time. It definitely happened faster. Like we had always planned to have 2 kids.
Okay.
But like I was just at a point where I was like getting back into working professionally more steadily and consistently, and like things were rolling again when I got pregnant for the second time. And it was fine, of course, but like because my body already knew what it was, like it all just popped and out, and everything just had. So like I was on my second pregnancy, I wasn't able to work through the beginning of it the way that I was with my first pregnancy, because my body just already relaxed into the pregnancy form that it knew.
Shannon, every time I talk to you, I forget how animated you are. I love listening to you talk to me. I'm like, I'm sitting over here with a big smile on my face, and you can't see it.
Oh, good. Okay, good.
That's great. So for the listeners who care about this a lot, can you tell me in both your pregnancies, what you ended up doing with training, prenatal and postpartum, just and how they're different if they were?
For sure. Yeah. I mean, I'm just a very active person by nature. Like, my feet touch the ground in the morning, and then I generally don't stop moving until I have to stop moving. And even if I didn't have to stop moving, I wouldn't, because I still just want to be productive. But yeah, I definitely, and this was on behalf of my doctor's request because I was older, that I didn't push myself too hard during the pregnancy. I definitely, was still moving and working and active, but I was not training hard at all. And I didn't want to. Honestly, I really wanted to allow my body to take a break because I had been working so hard for so long. And I said, you know what? I'm going to give myself this little gift, and I am going to take a break. But like, I didn't eat excessively. I didn't gain, excessive amounts of weight. I think that was one of the important details that I learned, that like, not to use your pregnancy as an excuse to just eat abundantly and
Yeah, like double your
gorge on
calories.
whatever
I think it's
sugars
like 300 calories extra a day an average woman needs
in
extra.
order to sustain the
Yeah,
child.
so something like that. And
Yeah.
I feel like that's roughly what I did, because then also the baby grows, and I didn't my digestion was difficult sometimes. Like, it was hard to digest food sometimes. So
I felt the
yeah.
same way. Like, if
Oh,
I overate, I was really uncomfortable. Like, there's already so much happening inside your body that
yeah.
then packing on food on top of all of it made me uncomfortable. So if I just would eat just a regular, normal, smaller sized meal throughout the course of the day, like, I didn't enjoy the feeling of being pregnant and full of food.
Yeah.
And then all I could think about was when this child comes out of me, then I'm going to have to deal with a whole other journey of, besides being a new mother, of now having to lose all the weight. And that seemed like a pretty daunting experience, especially
Mm,
from all the people that I had spoken with that had gone through and never lost the baby weight, and their child is 5 years old and they're still trying to lose the baby weight. I'm like, I'm not putting myself through it. So I feel like I was conscious, where I found that balance of moderation, where, like,
right.
I was giving myself that little bowl of ice cream every night because my body really did want, and I think it's probably the dairy and the milk,
Yep.
because I was producing so much milk. So I'm like, I'm listening to my body and I'm going to give it what it wants, but I don't need to eat the entire pint, just enough to satisfy the craving.
Well, I love
And
this
then I,
because other women, I think, feel like, oh, if I take time off, like, kind of a fear around it that they're going to lose all their strength. But it's like an open-ended fear, where it's not like, if you really go down that rabbit hole of, okay, what's going to happen next, everybody's like, oh yeah, you could get it back. But there's a lot of fear around kind of losing what you've gained strength
for
wise.
sure, for sure. Yeah. And I would say, in regards to the postpartum training experience, I definitely started very slowly, and I was very patient, and I was very non-judgmental with my body and with the process, because I think that it's everything is very fragile at that point, like, I had both of my children naturally. I did have epidurals, but like, I had natural births. I didn't have C-section. So
Okay,
obviously
that's
with
what
this
my next question
C-section,
was going to be.
next question, I'm already
Yeah,
answering it.
already
But
answering it.
yeah, the C-section obviously takes a bigger toll on your, like, abdominal structure and everything. So, because I was able to do the natural birth, it's still, like, things get all churned as you're going through this process of the pregnancy. And I, certainly didn't do anything for the first 6 weeks after giving birth as the doctor prescribed. And then after that point, I very slowly just started, like, laying on the floor with your baby and doing gentle abdominal, just engaging my muscles, not even like hitting the sit-ups hard, or, I really, like, gave myself time before I even, like, jumped up on aerial equipment to even just re-acknowledge that those muscles still existed and that they were still in proper working order, and just really, like, just sitting there and just squeezing your muscles just to reconnect them and make sure that they're, in their proper place again. But then, yeah, once I started, on aerial equipment after giving birth, it was probably, I would say, about 2 months after. I just gently was starting to go through things. And, it was nice that, like, honestly, like, it felt good. And I breastfed both children for 18 months. So I definitely know that that was a huge detail as to what allowed me to lose a lot of the baby weight. Like, I could feel my body
Mm-hmm.
squeezing and engaging anytime I was breastfeeding, and, like, contracting my uterine muscles because they're breastfeeding. And, like the weight was like, I've never been so lean in my adult life after I was breastfeeding. Like, I
For
was
two
like,
kids. Mm.
yeah, I
You
like
know
I
what? That's
it
right.
was wild.
I saw you at Sita's baby shower,
Yes.
and you were so lean.
Lean.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
remember that.
Like, that's the opposite of looking, catching a reflection of myself in the window when I'm pregnant and I'm like this, like, morbid looking alien creature. I would have the same, like, kind of feeling looking at myself in the mirror, because I've never seen myself, like, I was skinny. I've never been skinny. I've always been very muscular, very curvy, and just strong, but never skinny. And they sucked my body out.
I
They
remember, okay, so I remember having this thought of, I've never seen Shannon's boobs that small. That's what I actually
Yeah.
thought for a
Yeah.
split second, and I forgot all about that moment.
Yeah, which is funny because, like, they had gone from a triple D to an A. Like, I haven't been an A since I started growing boobs in, 7th grade or whatever it was. And, like, now I'm a nice, just natural B. Like, the C cup, I don't think is ever going to happen in my life again, which is fine. I've accepted. It's okay.
I
But yeah, I
actually
mean,
miss my A's because I feel like, because I'm still breastfeeding, to
uh-huh.
me, this like weird B that I'm in is very sloppy. I like want it to go back to normal.
Just squeeze it back in. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I thought I
It's
would enjoy
funny.
it, but I don't.
It's really wild. And, my husband laughs about it all the time. Is like, it's just such a roller. My body has been a roller coaster for the last 6 years, like, from being so big with being pregnant, and then so skinny, and now I'm, like, back to normal. Like, but it's a new version of normal. I'm still leaner than I ever have been prior to getting pregnant, which is wild. And, like, I'm still capable of, with all of the flexibility that I had before. Like, somehow I have access to even more of it. And I think that's, because of yoga, I've really learned how to open up all of my joints. And I think just the nature of having the experience with being pregnant and all of the adventures, I just understand my body
Even
more
more.
now than ever before. Yeah.
Thank you for saying that, because that's my next question. You've always been a contortionist,
Hmm.
correct? Since the beginning. So, what was your experience with the relaxin and like your joints? Like, what were your joints like at that moment during your pregnancy where people say, "Oh yeah, you get more flexible"? Is it possible to hurt yourself even more if you stretch too much? Blah
Mm.
blah blah. What was your
Hmm.
experience there?
I think that I certainly had heard rumors about that, because I already was so flexible that people were, maybe sending me moments of concern that my flexibility might, like, not be able to stabilize myself. But I've always not just been flexible. Like, I've always been very strong. Like, my training in my dance studio was getting the strength to support the flexibility. Flexibility
Mm-hmm.
on its own accord is not worthwhile if you don't have the strength to support it, because you're going to more likely injure yourself. So I think that was a part of my childhood training. So yeah, like, while I was pregnant, I would be stretching, and I felt like it was just the same as
Okay.
always. Yeah.
Okay. You
I
didn't.
didn't see any, like, drastic noticeable difference that all of a sudden I could do insane things that I couldn't do before.
In my small sample size, that's what I've heard from everybody. For me as
Hmm.
well, like my splits felt very comfortable, but they've
Hmm.
always been comfortable. I didn't have any difference either, and I was like waiting for it. I was like,
Yeah.
where's my over, like, super over splits at? Nope. Just regular.
Just regular. Yeah.
Yeah, okay, well that's good to know.
Yeah.
That's good to know. Okay. Um So the actual title of this episode is probably going to be a working mom. So we're actually going to get to that now, halfway in. So you're kind of farther along in the momming than me and some of my closest aerial mama friends here because our babies are so little. But since you have now two, and like, tell me that experience, and then also if there's any particular stories that really show what's going on behind the scenes of your life.
hmm the first word that comes to mind when I think about being a working mom is hustle.
Mm.
Because as much as you ever thought you were hustling before to get to auditions or uh, classes or gigs or job, whatever, I've never hustled like I've had to hustle with two children. And I have become incredibly selective about jobs that I'll audition for or take on
Hmm.
because at all times I have something that's more important. And it's very refreshing, I would say. I've always been one to take advantage of any opportunity possible, but I don't anymore. And I like that I at a different chapter. It's refreshing because I did it for so long. But I mean, the simple fact of, when I am offered any kind of project, obviously the first thought is, and this is pre-pandemic, and then we can talk about pandemic in a
Hmm.
moment, but the first thought is my husband working? Is he going to be able to take care of the girls while I'm working? Okay, so then if that's not possible, what's it going to cost for childcare? And is it financially worthwhile to take this project and pay for childcare? And then how many days is this project, which means how many babysitters am I going to potentially need to find in order to fulfill that time? And is it going to be worth all that effort? Because I'm not at a place where we have a nanny and we have no family in Los Angeles that we can consistently count on for things like this. So, I put so many factors into consideration if I'm offered a project, whether it's 1 day or 10 days.
Hmm.
Um, and then with the pandemic happening, it's been a little easier because my husband is a producer director for reality TV shows. And, obviously his industry has been just as hard hit as ours. And the main show that he works on is Big Brother. He's been doing that for 18 years. He's one of the directors on the show. So, when he's working on that show, it's a 4-month time period. And in that time, his job is a priority. Like he is completely consumed for 4 months. So anything that I take on really takes even double consideration than I would have before. But because of the pandemic, he hasn't worked since the end of Big Brother. So I've been able to take on all the projects that I've been offered, basically, which has been great. And he's been at home with the girls doing virtual school, and then I'm doing virtual school, and that's a whole other whirlwind of things. But now that the industry is really starting to roll again and things are picking
Hmm.
up, I'm already exhausted at the thought of having to manage childcare while working and Tom's working, because even if we have a babysitter, that we trust, like I probably have 15 phone numbers for babysitters. And like, anytime something comes up, then I'll just start sending out that same text, just copy paste to all the 15 babysitters, waiting till somebody says, yes, I'm available. And I've had times where I'm like, finally, I found the babysitter, we're booked, we're confirmed, we're all set. And then, it's 5 o'clock and I'm waiting for them to show up, and then 6 o'clock and they're still not here. And I'm going to be late for my call time because your alarm didn't go off, or, like there's
Yeah.
been so many
Yeah.
factors, and it is so stressful. Like, and then I'm, even if they're here at my house and they're watching my children and I'm on a job, I'm still thinking about what's happening. And, so it's like trying to stay focused on what I'm being paid to do. But your soul is always going to be concerned at what's happening at the homeland.
Of course, because your heart is living outside of your body
Yeah.
now. Yeah.
Mm.
And I
Yeah.
feel like the same when it comes to, no one expected this year to happen. But now
Mhm.
that I'm a year into just being home with her and just doing the small amount of work that I'm doing, the idea of doing what I thought I was going to do, which was do everything.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, whoa, not the first year of her life. Yeah, that's what I thought I was going to do. I wasn't planning to slow down, you know?
Sure. Sure.
Yeah. There's a story that I heard kind of roundabout way because of Tanya. I think it was Tanya. Something, or it was Meredith. Something about you guys going to New York and you had to bring your girls with you
Oh, yeah.
because your husband was out of town. One of my girlfriends
Yeah.
was on that job with you, and there, I think it was Meredith. Tell me if I'm wrong.
Yeah, no, I know exactly what you're talking about. Yeah, it was it was 2 years, it was 2019. My husband was working in Mexico on Paradise Hotel, so he was gone for 6 weeks. And during that time, I was home with the girls, and I got a call to choreograph the number for the Fox upfronts. So upfronts are basically like a showcase that each network does at the beginning or during the at some point during the year to showcase the shows that they'll have for the fall season and the spring season. So it's a really big deal. So I got the opportunity to choreograph the number for the Fox Upfronts for Mass Singer. And of course, I'm going to take advantage of it, but
Mm-hmm.
I have no husband and that's flying to New York. So I was able to connect with the travel company, and I obviously they're going to pay for your flight and your hotel while you're there. But I asked if I could forego my hotel room and use the funds that they would pay for the hotel room to book an additional flight for my child. And then my second one at that time was under two, so she flew for free.
On
And then
your
I
lap.
stayed on my lap. So then I
Okay.
stayed with friends in New York. Luckily, I have friends in New York that I can stay with. So I was able to manage it so that financially I wasn't out of pocket with having to like pay for the flight for my child. Like, you just kind of like move the pieces of the puzzle around. And so, yeah, I went to New York with both of my girls by myself, trudged them through, like borrowed a stroller from a friend in New York. Like
Wow.
people come through. It's amazing what happens. And then, I would work and I got a babysitter in New York because my friends were working. And then you just make it happen. When you want it bad enough, you figure it out and you make it happen.
I feel like some people, including myself, might be stressed out just with one of those elements. Like just with one child traveling alone, not working. Two children, you know what I'm saying? Like
Yeah,
that's a lot.
it's a lot. And I think that I have to thank my mother for the life force that this woman has in her life and has therefore instilled in me. Like she's always worked very hard. She, was never given anything in her life. She made everything happen for herself. And she's just 69 years old and she still is. She's still this like ferocious being that just attacks every day to the fullest potential that it can offer. And I'm her daughter, so I have
Yeah.
no choice.
Yeah, that's awesome. I feel like it's really inspirational and maybe it'll give some women a little bit of like, okay, we're all doing this. We can do it.
And I think that along the way, what has been so refreshing and has also been a challenge is that people are there for you. And it's challenging to ask for help. But if you get to the point where you can ask for help, people are generally happy and willing and wanting to help. And especially, friends and not even friends. Like I feel like even, being at the airport by myself with two children and that whole shuffle, God knows along the way, I got plenty of help from perfect strangers that were willing to, even simple things like opening the doors with strollers and let me carry this bag for you. Like it's interesting how like when you put faith in the world that it can often come back in really positive ways.
Oh, I love that story. And I think people are going to really get a lot from him. I'm going to take a left turn really quick. So,
Left.
a left turn, how's your hand?
Ah, that joyful moment.
Yeah, can you
Yeah.
talk about that?
Oh, sure. So, I got my finger caught in the motor of a leaf blower at one
Oof.
point, and in one magical second, that I don't know when you fell. if you heard the sound of your own bone
Yes, it's so
snapping like
disgusting.
inside your ear, it's a very specific thing. And I've torn my ACL and I tore my meniscus. Like, so I've had, little snaps inside my own body that, my ears hear, but the snap of your own bone, that was something that was like very jarring. And then, obviously being an aerialist, you use your hands as your safety, and to like, very quickly, I had gloves on. So I pulled the gloves off and like my finger was just hanging and blood is dripping. And I
Ugh.
just was like naturally in shock. And then everybody around me was in the same sort of shock. And all I could say, like, I just had my hand up in the air, like just above my head, above my heart. And I was like, I need somebody to take me to the closest emergency room as quickly as possible. Like, that's all I kept saying over and over. And I was very articulate. The closest emergency room as quickly as possible. Because like they weren't getting it. Everybody just stood there frozen in that
Oh,
moment
they're
because
in
it was so
shock.
freaky looking. Yeah.
Right.
And then finally somebody snapped out of it and they were like, okay, here's my car. So, but yes, luckily, the doctor was able to put it back together, but it is twisted at all times. My left index finger is twisted, but it still exists. It is still there. It doesn't bend.
Does it close all the way? No.
No, it doesn't. But
Okay,
luckily,
so
all the other 9 fingers squeeze aerial equipment enough to keep my life safe. But yeah, that was a blow to my soul for sure.
oh
And that,
yeah.
and like the cast, being in the cast for 6 weeks with new babies, like
Oh yeah.
when that happened, Ella was, oh no, Lucy was in diapers. My first, I funny enough, found out I was pregnant while I was in the cast. It was a whole whirlwind. That's a
Okay,
whole
wait.
other longer story.
So that happened like more than 3 years ago.
Yeah,
Where has the
yeah.
time gone? I feel like it
The
was 2 years ago, but I'm wrong.
flies. Yeah, but
Flies.
I was changing. Like I was changing. Lucy was still in diapers, so I remember being in a cast and being like, "How am I going to change a diaper? Like I can't wash dishes. I can't brush. I have curly hair. I can't even." I had a friend come over, and while I sat in the bathtub, and because I couldn't brush my hair, I was getting dreadlocks. Like it was a whole thing. Your hands are very important details as an aerialist and as a mother, and when one is completely taken away for 6 weeks, it was really challenging. But whatever,
Okay, yeah.
recovered and it still works and moving on.
Shannon, I'm doing a combination of like super happy over here and stressed out too. Like your story's putting me through a roller coaster. I'm like, whoa, this is a great story. Um, you're just a great inspiration and also very entertaining, which I very much appreciate. And now, so tell me, how is your pandemic parenting and aerialing? Tell me a little bit about that.
Yeah, so Lucy is in virtual school Monday through Friday. It's just 9 to 11. And then, of course, we have to do the schoolwork afterwards. But LAUSD is going to be starting in person sessions in April. So we'll see how that situation goes. I don't exactly know what the details are, so that'll be interesting. We have an aerial rig in the backyard, so I do teach classes in my backyard, and that's, lovely. I do enjoy teaching, of course. I still am performing a lot. I've actually been working a lot, which is pretty wild, and I've been able to work as a performer, which obviously I love and is always going to be at the core of my joy. But I've also been able to do a lot of aerial choreography, which has been wonderful. So it's been a broad range of opportunities that I've been receiving lately, and I'm just taking advantage of all of them, certainly after not working for, was it March, April, May, June, July, August? So 6 months, yeah. I started, my first job back was in September, and it's just been pretty much nonstop since then.
Oh, congratulations.
And,
that's great.
it's amazing. I'm thrilled. And I hope that it continues to roll. I think that because the industry has really got its gears going again, that it'll just continue. And normally during the summer, Los Angeles slows down in general, but I have a
Mm-hmm.
feeling this summer, because there was such a big break, that things are really just going to keep going,
That
is
people
what
are
I'm
just going to
crossing my
need
fingers for.
to, yeah, these companies are going to need to produce all their things. So yeah,
Yep,
I agree.
exactly. Fingers
Um,
crossed.
I want
Yep.
to I want to end with this lovely story of how Shannon helped me when I was going through my really tough fourth trimester. So basically, I had already told the story in a couple earlier podcasts about how I don't know if I ever told you. So I ended up being diagnosed with postpartum anxiety disorder.
Okay,
and
I
it,
did
and
not know
it
this.
and it was a perfect storm of historical anxiety issues in the first place. I was off any type of meds during the pregnancy because I didn't want to be on anything I didn't need to be on. And so when my pregnancy
Mm-hmm.
hormone like dived down after the baby came out, all of my historical issues kind of came rearing back. And then coupled with the amount of sleep deprivation I had, particularly because this little bean, who is ironically sleeping on my chest right now, would never
Perfect.
sleep. she
Mm-hmm.
it was we just had a hard time. So
Mm-hmm.
basically for that time I was like anything to give me hope. Like I was borrowing swings and loungers and all this stuff. And so basically, I talk to Shannon usually when we end up doing, like randomly. And I texted her. I don't even know if I said hello. I was like, "Do you have a swing?"
Yeah,
Somebody told
I
me you had a
remember that. I
swing.
was like, of
Yeah.
course. Yeah.
Sita
Yeah.
told me you had a swing. Can I borrow it? Like, when can I come over? I can be there in 5 minutes, type of thing. And
Yeah.
you packed up the swing that your child had used or not used. I don't know if your child liked it, and put it in my
Barely
car
used.
and
Yeah.
sent me off. And I had another friend like lend me her snoo. Like I tried everything, but the fact that I had people like you, bring it back to what you had said about people just coming out of the woodwork and being helpful because you need it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
You
And
do. Yeah.
and half the things didn't work, but think of if I had to pay for all those things, which I didn't have like money coming in at the time because I wasn't working. My partner was, but still
Exactly.
to go buy like
It's
$300 worth of
all
swing. And
so expensive.
yeah.
Yes, and you use them for a couple of months, and it's wild how much gear your baby needs, and that's exactly the adventure that you go through. You're like, "Oh, this one didn't work, so let me get another one." And, "Oh,
Yeah.
that didn't work, so let me get another one." And then all of a sudden, your home is full of God only knows an absorbent amount of baby gear, and none of it's effective.
Yeah.
And I can't tell you how grateful I am. I've bought very little gear for our children, and it's because people are so generous, and
Mhm.
more likely they're ready to get all of that. I'll just say it, they want all of that shit out of their house. And they're happy to pass it on because they're tired of seeing it. But yeah, no, people like with clothes, shoes, toys, all of
Yeah.
it, we have just at all times. And still, like, I have clothes for my children that are like up until size 10, and I just have bins in my storage room, and they're all just nicely organized, and we'll get a box in the mail or a bag at the door from all of our friends that have amazing lovely style for their children, and we just
Yep.
keep stacking it away and organizing it. And now I'm giving all of my hand-me-downs to Rachel, whom you know so well,
Yes.
and there's so many, and I'm like, whatever you want, keep. And then because she's like the source, I feel, to then pass on to so many other people. So I'm just going to keep the children of the Ariel community
Clothes.
clothed.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure I've probably put a onesie on of yours via Rach. I'm
Oh,
sure.
good. I'm glad. I'm
Yeah.
glad. Yes.
Yeah, and then Sarah just got a big dump from us because
Oh,
her
good.
her
Yeah.
baby's 3.5, 4 months now, and mine is
Yeah.
16 months. So yeah, we're saving the environment one baby at a time. That's the way I like to look at it.
I look at it in the same way. It's just so much, and it is so wasteful to not share it with people that are in need. And because generally, obviously, new moms are not having the ability to work, financially, it is a beautiful gift to receive a nice bag of hand-me-downs.
Yeah, because none of us are getting paid when we're not working because of what we do for a living.
Exactly.
So it is so
Exactly.
helpful. And Shannon, I am so grateful that we jumped on this call because I know that we're both so busy, and I love your story. Not only is it informative and helpful, but it's entertaining and fun to
Oh,
listen to.
good. I'm glad. That's fun.
Yeah.
I had a great time chatting with you. I feel like we could probably just keep chatting about this for another hour.
We could probably do it, but maybe the next time we'll get together and this COVID thing will be behind us and we can have a glass of wine and just laugh about the life that we just went through for 1 year.
That would be wonderful. I'll look forward to it.
Yeah. All right. Thank you,
Awesome.
Shannon.
You're welcome, Carrie. Thank you so much. And I hope all of your listeners enjoyed our chat.
Thanks today for tuning in. You can find Shannon at shannon.beach on Instagram. You can always find me at carrie@wrapyourheadaroundsilks.com via email. I want to say thank you to Asa Watkins for post-production. Thank you for listening to the Expecting Aerialist podcast. See you next time.